Hey guys, what's going on? Mark here, Silversound Guitar. Wanted to talk about just some important things I think for practice for guitarists today. We're going to run over what a good practice routine should look like and should be. We're going to talk about what a technique exercise is. I'm going to give you one of those, and hopefully that'll help you with your progress and your guitar work right now. Let's talk a little bit about what I mean when I say that. Um, what is a good practice routine? Obviously, I like to subdivide stuff into five sections. I think of it as like the work week, right? Where I've got one different exercise per day that I can devote, all of that energy to. So I'm not trying to do like a bunch of different things in that grouping. So it's just one kind of idea, right? And I do that five different times throughout the week, and then I take Saturdays and Sundays off unless I'm playing shows, stuff like that, doing any extra lessons or doing maybe like a stream or something like that. So I try to keep some things separate, so I'm still making those gains and still making that progress on my guitar. One thing that I'd say is always make sure when you're starting this off is that you are practicing tuning. Not only is this going to help your ear training, right? But this is also going to help you just kind of know if your guitar is in tune, right? Like, I mean, it's so easy to sit down, and I see it all the time where it's like, oh yeah, well, is that have we been playing this even in tune? I don't know. So I think that's kind of important to just double check with some of that. Um, so let's just kind of run through outside of tuning every single day. What would you do for a really good practice routine? Remember, I said five things. Technique building is what I would label one of those categories. Now, that's going to quantify things like picking exercises, spider exercises, right? Things making sure that you're kind of working just stuff that I would say at the end of the day is mostly considered not musical, which at the end of this lesson I'm going to actually change that because I don't like that. I don't like having a non-musical exercise period. So we're gonna fix that a little bit, but we'll keep going. So technique building, right? The next thing for me, solos and scales. I mean, that's what got me into guitar, solos and scales. So I would say spend some time practicing to a backing track, working on your pentatonics, knowing your root notes, forwards, backwards, right? Make sure you're doing ascending and descending. Make sure that you're working on um, major and minor if those are the things. You could add modes to it, stuff like that. Depending on the difficulty, obviously you can make it super difficult. But from a beginning standpoint, I would say just make sure you're working on the pentatonic. And once you feel comfortable from there, talk to your teacher and see if you should be adding anything to it. In most cases, you'll probably be working on the full scale because that is a very important thing to understand. And then you'll just kind of be working on playability with a backing track and making sure that you understand, soloing in the key. Obviously, the more that you know, the more advanced that topic becomes over time. But when you're starting out, I wouldn't sweat it. I would just say workshop those ideas and make sure you're getting a pretty good understanding of how to build them. Moving on to the next topic, chords. Now, this could be your open chords. This could be your bar chords, right? This could be your two-note chords. This could be your triads. This could be your weird chords. like, you know, um, whatever it is that at this point in time, that would be. And so remember all these things, and this is the cool thing about this. These things, these categories will keep growing. They'll keep expanding. They'll keep getting a little bit longer. So obviously your practice time will have to increase a little bit. But for right now, I would say just start off with what you know. If all you know is just this one chord, well, then play just that one chord and make sure you do it really well. You know, so we've got technique building, we've got solos and scales, we've got chords. The next thing that I like to do is making sure that you work on rhythm. I encounter this way too often where I see guitar players who can't count correctly or they don't know how to subdivide, which is crazy to me because this instrument is so very rhythmic. So spend some time making sure that you understand how that works. What I like to use personally, I have like drum rudiment worksheets that I've used. I've got rhythm workbooks that we've got here at Silversound. I've got stuff like that just focuses on not necessarily caring so much about how complicated the riff is or the scale. It's about how to read the rhythm. And I think that is going to make you a far superior player. So focus on some of that. Spend an entire day doing it if you can. If you can't, that's okay. Do what you can basically with those ones. Last but not least, okay, repertoire. Repertoire is huge. So making sure that you have just an upkeep of the songs that you like to demonstrate or play for yourself or others, I think is huge. So just make sure that you're running through them. Once you get them down, you know what I mean? It's just going to be committed from memory, so it's going to be pretty quick for the most part. But run through and just make sure that you've got enough, like 10 songs. It's probably a pretty good number, I guess. Obviously, it builds up from there, but if you're just starting, a lot of the songs too are going to be pretty much similar in some fashion. So it's going to help you really build that catalog pretty quickly. But definitely make sure you're spending some time practicing them correctly, right? Making sure that you're working on them with the track and not just you know playing it so you don't know how things sound or what to expect or anything like that. So I think that's going to be probably one of the best ways you could do that. Now, obviously, we talked a little bit about technique building. One thing that I think is important is, building a really good practice routine that feels like it's musical, because playing, oh, dude, that is going to get old real quick. So, what I like to do is I like to reinforce this root note knowledge around the fretboard. I think that's going to be one of the best things you could possibly do for yourself. So, what I would recommend is starting with C, because it's everybody's starting point. Like for everything that you see online, everyone's like, yeah, C. And so when I get questions, it's always revolving around the key signature that, has no sharps and no flats. What I think we should do for this exercise is we should incorporate an arpeggio. Now, an arpeggio is a series of notes of the chord, right? So it's a chord played in a series of notes, either ascending or descending. So, here's what I think is the best thing that you could do also is maybe find low, mid, high on the guitar. Really challenge yourself from an ear training standpoint. Because if you go here, you're like, well, okay, that's cool. I mean, and it feels higher, right? But realistically, same pitch. So kind of knowing where some of those places are, I think is going to be really cool. What you could do at this point is play this major arpeggio, okay? Now, for all intents and purposes, we're just going to practice a pattern. I know this is like the worst thing for a guitar player, right? More patterns, okay? But this is going to be good. This is root, third, fifth. And you can see the way that I'm playing this. We're doing fifth string, fourth string, and the fourth string is 1 fret behind at this point, and then we're going to stretch ahead. So you're kind of practicing almost like that spider exercise that we've talked about before in the past. 1 finger per fret, right? Ooh, cool. Now we're going to move up to the next spot. Look at that. It's the same concept. Even on the last one, same concept. So check this out. We're going to go. And don't forget to go backwards. Because if you don't, you're only going to get good one way, So you want to really make sure that you're giving yourself enough mobility. Kind of work on that alternate picking as you're moving through this. And that would be an easy way to make a technical exercise not unmusical. This really helps kind of formulate, I think, that cohesion sonically. So I would say focus on some things like this, and hopefully this helps you build a better practice routine, and it helps you see some of those, the goals that you've been wanting as a guitar player, And if you need any help, feel free to reach out to me. feel free to reach out to Silversound, and we would do everything we can to help you be that guitar player that you want to be. Have an amazing week, and hopefully this helped you out.